Survey collection occurred between April 26th and June 14th of this year. And just to remind you, Derek Chauvin's trial, in which he was found guilty of murder, murdering George Floyd, concluded on April 20th. So I think that's just an important thing to keep in mind as we analyze and interpret the results, which I'll share some of them briefly with you now. The question we asked was, generally speaking, how much of the time do you think you can trust the police in Minnesota to do what is right? And on that top line, for all Minnesotans, you can see where we get 2/3 of Minnesotans trust the police just about always or most of the time. Now, BIPOC Minnesotans only trust the police to do what is right 43% of the time, just about always or most of the time. 43% of BIPOC Minnesotans trust the police to do what is right. On the other hand, white Minnesotans, 71% of them trust the police to do what is right. But then if we look within the BIPOC grouping, you can see that Black Minnesotans in particular have the lowest proportion of all groups when it comes to trust. Just 1 in 5, 22% of Black Minnesotans trust the police to do what is right. And even though those numbers that I just gave are kind of in aggregate for just about always, for the answers of just about always or most of the time, I would like to draw your attention to the answers for just about always alone. So in the case of white respondents, as the title of the graph indicates, white respondents are nearly 3 times more likely than BIPOC respondents to trust the police just about always. And actually the segment for Black Minnesotans is small enough that the number doesn't appear, but that's 4% of Black Minnesotans trust the police just about always, which is an incredibly low number. All right, next slide. So another question that we asked as part of our policing and criminal justice report is, how often, if ever, do you believe members of your racial or ethnic group in Minnesota experience discrimination when interacting with the police? So here you can see 3/4, about 78% of BIPOC Minnesotans believe that members of their racial or ethnic group experience discrimination. On the other hand, 1/4 of white Minnesotans say 3%, or 3% of white Minnesotans say often. So 27%, just over 1/4 of white Minnesotans say that other white Minnesotans experience police discrimination when interacting with police here in Minnesota. But if we kind of break out the BIPOC group and look specifically at Black Minnesotans, an astounding 95% of Black Minnesotans believe that other Black people in Minnesota, taken as a whole, regularly encounter discrimination when interacting with the police. And Indigenous Minnesotans are actually not that far behind at 86%, which is again another very, very high number. I also want to draw your attention, I think it's important to note the difference here between Hmong and non-Hmong Asian Minnesotans. You can see those highlighted with the yellow arrows. Even though both groups answer that they often experience police discrimination at similar rates, 16% and 17%, Hmong Minnesotans are far more likely than non-Hmong Asian Minnesotans to report sometimes. That's a difference by over 20 percentage points between them and non-Hmong Asian Minnesotans. Also, I would draw your attention to the never answers on the far right of the graph. The same group, Asian excluding Hmong, 16% say that they never experience as a group police discrimination here in the state of Minnesota. That number is second only to white Minnesotans for these results. Although I'm not going to go into the other results from this report as part of this presentation for the sake of time, I will highlight that we also asked Minnesotans about their personal interactions with police officers. So if they've been stopped in the past 2 years, how often, and if they felt that they personally experienced discrimination when interacting with the police. We also asked about their sense of safety in their neighborhood and their feelings of fairness when it comes to the courts and criminal justice system in the state. So again, you can find those results, those full results on our website.